Welcome to the Beyond Bloated Podcast. I'm Karlee, a certified health coach helping women under 50 ditch their bloat without having to follow super strict and stressful protocols. As someone who's struggled with all sorts of digestive issues for over 5 years, I know exactly how you're feeling. I also know that there's a way to feel better, and it doesn't have to involve tons of expensive supplements and insanely restrictive diets. Join me as I share all of my bloat-busting wisdom to help you say goodbye to that bloated belly and regain your confidence. It's time for you to move beyond bloated. Hello, everyone. Exciting news. My podcast has reached 500 downloads, which means it has been listened to 500 times. That's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. Now today, I want to celebrate you guys because you're the ones listening and I'm making this podcast for you. So I've been asking you since I started the podcast, what do you want me to talk about? And a few of you have responded and told me some topics that you're interested in. So today I am going to dedicate this episode to Vivian. Vivian is a listener of the Beyond Bloated podcast. I had sent out an email to my list asking, what do you guys want me to talk about? She responded with today's topic, and here we are. So if you want me to make a podcast episode on a topic you're interested in, you can do so in several ways. The easiest way is if you are listening to this on your phone right now, open the app, scroll to the section where I have notes, and at the very top, there should be a send me a text button. Click that, it'll open up your text messages, and it'll send me an anonymous text. Just put the topic you want in there, it'll come to me. I won't even know who sent it, so if you are shy and you don't want me to know that it was you, this is a great way to do so. If you want more direct contact with me, you can Instagram me at beyond.bloated, send me a DM with the topic, or you can email me, karleeclose at beyondbloated.com. Whichever way you prefer, just get the message to me somehow and I will note it down and I may be making an episode on your topic next. All right, so as you probably know from the title of this episode, today we are talking about the autoimmune gut connection because that is what Vivian wanted to learn more about. I also think this is a great topic that impacts a lot of people, whether personally or they know somebody with an autoimmune condition. And I don't believe it is very well known that autoimmune conditions often stem from having poor gut health. So if you did not know that, you're about to know that. I've noticed that people tend to think of autoimmune diseases as their destiny. It's like my mom and my dad both have an autoimmune condition, so I am destined to have the same autoimmune condition. It's in my genes. I can't do anything about it. So it doesn't matter how I live my life. I will end up with this autoimmune condition at the end of the day. And that is not true. Genes do not play as big of a role in our health as people think. A lot of people think because you have a certain gene that means you will have the disease or condition connected to that gene. But the way I like to think of genes is as if they are a light switch. So the possibility for developing a certain condition may be higher for you if you have that specific gene or light switch in this scenario that I'm creating. But it's our diet and lifestyle that have the ability to turn that switch on. So the gene can lie dormant in your body your entire life unless you activate it by your habits, your diet, your overall lifestyle. For example, heart disease is the #1 killer of both men and women in the United States. Yet some research shows that it may be possible to prevent 80% of heart disease. For the vast majority of people, heart disease is caused by food, their diet, their nutrition. And it can also be reversed by the same thing, your diet. Heart disease isn't an autoimmune condition, but the same logic applies for all of these different conditions and diseases. Yes, there are rare circumstances where you'll hear like some extreme athlete died of a heart attack in their 30s, or someone who has smoked and ate hot dogs every day lived till 100. These are what we call outliers in the scientific and mathematical world. They're not the norm. So if you are using your genes as an excuse as to not eat well or exercise or manage your stress or any of the things, after listening to this episode, you have no excuse. You know that your genes do not determine your fate. It is actually your diet and lifestyle that do. So let's start by kind of explaining what autoimmunity is. Autoimmune diseases are thought to occur when the immune system mistakenly attacks the body's own tissues, which leads to inflammation and tissue damage. However, we now know that dysbiosis, which is when your gut microbiome becomes imbalanced, has a leading role contributing to immune dysregulation and the development or exacerbation of autoimmune symptoms. You may be wondering, how is that possible? Like, how do I have an autoimmune condition because my microbiome is out of balance? Allow me to explain the gut-immune connection to clear things up for you. So around 80% of our immune cells reside in the gut. Our immune systems protect us from disease-causing bacteria, viruses, parasites, all the nasty stuff that makes us sick. When we're healthy, our immune system is strong, and then it releases antibodies that eliminate the pathogens and all the things that are trying to harm us from our system. But when our immune systems are compromised, it cannot defend itself against these harmful invaders, which can cause chronic inflammation in our bodies, which then leads to autoimmune disease. Another factor to consider is leaky gut syndrome. I've talked about this in the past, but I'm going to do it again. Our gut linings are designed to allow micronutrients into the bloodstream while keeping out all of the toxins. However, poor diet, infections, stress, toxins, these are all things that can start to damage and break apart the tight junctions in the intestinal wall, which then causes leaky gut because these holes are now bigger than they should be. And now things like toxins, microbes, and undigested food particles can leak through the gut lining into the bloodstream, causing the immune system to freak out because this stuff is not supposed to be there, so it's on red alert, and it starts attacking. This increases inflammation in the body and causes all sorts of symptoms, including food intolerances. The bottom line is, since 80% or so of our immune cells reside in the gut, you cannot have strong immunity if you have poor gut health, and vice versa. Some of the common factors that are going to cause poor gut health in the first place are a diet that's high in sugar, ultra-processed food, low in fiber. This is going to harm our gut health by disrupting the microbiome, putting it out of balance, and creating leaky gut. Stress, same thing. Chronic stress affects the gut negatively, disrupts its function, causes leaky gut syndrome by breaking down that intestinal wall. Certain medications, like antibiotics, can decimate our good gut bacteria because antibiotics kill the bad, but they also kill the good. They have no filter. They go in there and they start shooting. So if you're taking antibiotics a lot, your good gut bugs are wiped out just as much as the bad, and that's going to cause dysbiosis in the gut. Also, things like viral, bacteria, or fungal infections can also disrupt our guts. Food poisoning, any sort of extreme illness takes a toll on the body and can disrupt our gut microbiome as well. I'm not going to go into too much more detail here about what contributes to poor gut health because I've talked about it extensively in most of my other episodes. I would say if you are really interested in this topic and you want to learn more, my first few episodes, I really focused on it. So episode 1, Calling All Bloated Babes, I went into detail on what is gut health, why is it important, what factors can negatively affect it, things like that. My next one, I unveiled my own gut health story. So I talked about my personal experience, how my lifestyle destroyed my gut health, which then ruined my life for a short period of time, or actually a long period of time, because it was like 5 years. So yes, if that is a topic that you're thinking you want to learn more about and you missed those 2 episodes, go check out episode 1 and episode 2. And then you might as well just keep on going 3 through episode 18, which is this one. Okay, so now we have an understanding of how having good gut health is crucial for having a strong immunity, and what factors can cause poor gut health. Now, let's discuss how poor gut health can lead to an autoimmune condition. I'll start with leaky gut syndrome since I already talked about it a bit earlier. So if you have leaky gut syndrome, particles like toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles can pass through into your bloodstream, which triggers an immune response because these particles are not supposed to be there. The immune response leads to inflammation, which, if chronic, meaning it's happening over and over and over again, can contribute to the development of autoimmune diseases. For example, celiac disease is an autoimmune condition where gluten causes an immune response that damages the gut lining, which increases permeability even further. And now more gluten fragments can escape into the bloodstream, which just creates this vicious cycle of inflammation and autoimmunity. The other factor is dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is an imbalance in the gut microbiome. So the good bacteria and the bad bacteria typically live in perfect harmony. The good keep the bad in check so they don't grow out of control and start causing symptoms. But if you have dysbiosis, this balance is now out of whack. When we have an overgrowth of harmful bacteria and a decreased amount of beneficial bacteria, the imbalance here can trigger the immune system, leading to inflammation and potentially contributing to the development of autoimmune diseases. For example, studies have shown that patients with rheumatoid arthritis often have different gut bacteria compositions compared to healthy individuals, which suggests a link between gut dysbiosis and the autoimmune condition rheumatoid arthritis. You may have even heard before or experienced yourself that certain autoimmune symptoms can be managed by diet, or that stressful events trigger a flare-up in people with autoimmune conditions. This is because of the strong connection between the gut microbiome and the immune system. Ultra-processed foods are inflammatory. Stress causes inflammation. These things also damage the gut lining, which then allows all of the nasty stuff to leak through into the bloodstream, causing an immune response. So if you eliminate these things by managing your stress, eating better, you're limiting the inflammation in your body, which is then going to help relieve some of those symptoms that you are experiencing from the autoimmune condition, because your immune system is not constantly activated. This connection between gut health and autoimmunity is becoming more known, and there have been more studies done on it. From that, there actually have been quite a few links between gut health and specific autoimmune conditions. So I'm going to go through some of the conditions that have a connection to poor gut health. I already mentioned two. So celiac disease is an autoimmune condition where a person eats gluten and then the immune system sees gluten as a threat. So it starts to attack and then the small intestine gets damaged in the process. The other condition I already mentioned is rheumatoid arthritis, and that is a long-term autoimmune disorder that primarily affects the joints. So it typically results in swollen, painful joints that are very stiff. Usually it's like the wrist and the hands that are involved. And this happens because the immune system isn't working properly and is attacking the lining of the joints. Both celiac disease and rheumatoid arthritis, as I mentioned earlier, have a direct link to poor gut health. I also know from experience, I don't have either condition, but I know people with these conditions. And diet plays a huge role in managing symptoms. For one, celiac disease is triggered by gluten. So it's directly your diet that is causing the symptoms. So to stop the symptoms, the person with celiac disease needs to stop eating gluten. But nutrition also plays a significant role in managing rheumatoid arthritis. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet helps manage symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis because it is an inflammatory autoimmune condition. So if you are eating anti-inflammatory, it makes sense that that is limiting the inflammation in your body and you're going to feel less pain from the condition. Multiple sclerosis, also known as MS, is a condition that affects the brain and spinal cord, which make up the central nervous system. So the way it works is the immune system mistakenly attacks the protective covering around the nerve fibers in the central nervous system. And then this damage disrupts the flow of electrical signals between the brain and the rest of the body. And then these damaged areas develop scar tissue, which further interrupts the communication between the nerves. Emerging research has begun to uncover a potential link between MS and alterations in the gut microbiome as well. Another autoimmune condition that may be linked to poor gut health is lupus. In lupus, the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy tissues, thinking that they are harmful. This attack causes inflammation and damage in various parts of the body. And then symptoms of lupus are fatigue, joint pain and swelling, skin rashes, fever, hair loss, lots of other things. A 2014 study connected lupus patients with a restricted microbiome diversity, meaning they don't have a wide variety of good gut bacteria in their microbiome. Reductions in beneficial bacteria like lacto and bifido are also seen in lupus patients. These changes in the gut microbiome balance contribute to immune dysregulation and systemic inflammation, as I mentioned earlier, and these are key components of developing lupus. Next up, we have inflammatory bowel disease, which is IBD, different from IBS. There are two main conditions involved in IBD, both of which involve chronic gut inflammation. They are Crohn's disease, which is patchy inflammation that can penetrate deep into the intestinal walls. It can affect any part of the digestive tract, all the way from the mouth down to the anus. And the second condition is ulcerative colitis. This primarily affects the colon and rectum, leading to inflammation and ulcerations of the mucosal lining in the colon. There has been extensive research to establish a connection between IBD and dysregulated gut microbiome. This last one I'm going to mention isn't typically seen as an autoimmune condition, but it is now being recognized to have autoimmune features, so I'm going to include it. Psoriasis. So this is an inflammatory skin condition where people develop red, inflamed patches on their skin with like silvery scales in there as well. This is yet another autoimmune-like condition where research has shed light on the association between psoriasis and gut dysbiosis, meaning not having a balanced microbiome may be the root cause of psoriasis. And again, this makes sense. I know people with psoriasis, and it flares up when they eat poorly. So maybe they go on a binge of ultra-processed food, their psoriasis gets worse, they clean up their diet, they start eating anti-inflammatory, it gets better. Or they have a very stressful period of life, psoriasis flares up. Hey everyone, Karlee here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it. They start managing their stress, or that time period is gone, and now they're, in their normal state of living, and their psoriasis isn't as bad. More than 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates said, all disease begins in the gut. And it's kind of crazy to think that this guy over 2,000 years ago made this statement. I don't know what he based it on. But now, 2,000 years later, it seems like he may have been onto something. It's very clear that our gut health plays a major role in every aspect of our health. If we have poor gut health, we're going to have poor immunity. We're going to have chronic inflammation. We're going to develop leaky gut syndrome, which is going to cause us to have food sensitivities. Then we're going to develop chronic bloating and fatigue, even seasonal allergies. If you want to listen to the episode where I talked about 10 different symptoms that I eliminated just by improving my gut health, and they were not GI symptoms, things like fatigue and seasonal allergies, even UTIs. Go check out episode 9. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's actually still mind-blowing to me when I think about it. All the problems that I had that I thought were normal, and all I had to do was improve my gut health to get rid of them. Like, everything is connected to the gut. And when we don't have good gut health for long periods of time, we can develop autoimmune conditions. It makes sense, and it's actually a good thing because this means we can prevent a lot of disease and illness simply by having good gut health. So how do we do it? How are we going to improve our gut health to manage an autoimmune condition that we already have or prevent one from developing? So I would first focus on diet. I believe that is one of the easiest things that you have control over changing. It's what you're buying at the grocery store. It's what you're choosing to get as a meal at a restaurant. Like, you have full control over what you eat. I'm not saying that change is easy, but if you want to make this change, it is something that is very doable, and it doesn't take like an excessive amount of money or anything. Like, you don't have to go buy a supplement to change your diet. I would start by focusing on an anti-inflammatory diet. So anything like the Mediterranean diet, for example, is very anti-inflammatory. It's known as one of the healthiest diets you can follow in the whole world. So that's a great place to start. I don't recommend eliminating a ton of foods from your diet for no reason, but if you suspect you have trigger foods like gluten or dairy, that when you eat it, your psoriasis flares up or your rheumatoid arthritis feels worse, yes, I would recommend removing that from your diet because that is a clear cause and effect relationship. Thirdly, I would recommend eating a diverse diet rich in fiber. So fruits and veggies, great, obviously, but eat different ones. Like, don't buy the same 3 vegetables at the grocery store week after week. Try buying what's in season. Go to your local farmer's market. They always have the seasonal stuff out at a good price, and it's fresh from the farm. That's going to help diversify your microbiome because, as I mentioned in some of those studies, having a microbiome that's lacking in diversity was the link to some of those autoimmune conditions. So the more you can diversify that microbiome, the better off you'll be. If you want some help starting out changing your diet, my Bloat Be Gone Kickstart bundle contains an anti-inflammatory recipe book with 65 different recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. So anything from there is going to be anti-inflammatory. And if you're looking for something a little more structured, I also have 2 meal plans included in the bundle. So one is a 7-day leaky gut meal plan. You'll get 7 days structured for you, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks of meals that are going to help reduce inflammation and seal up your gut lining to prevent leaky gut or close it up if it's already leaking. This meal plan comes with a done-for-you grocery list. So you just got to head to the store, grab the things. It also comes with a prep guide. So it tells you day by day, like at what point should you make which meal? Do you store it in the freezer, in the fridge? If you put it in the freezer, when do you pull it out? Like, it's very done for you if you're the type of person who just wants to follow something to get started, just so you can get into the habit. And the other meal plan is a 5-day de-bloat meal plan. Same concept. It comes with the grocery list done for you. It's anti-inflammatory. It's also high in protein. So these 2 meal plans are very structured. If that's what you're looking for, you don't have to follow them to a T. You could use your anti-inflammatory recipe book to swap out some of the recipes in the meal plan if you don't like them. Or you can just use the recipe book and kind of create your own meal plan. It's up to you, but all of those resources are included in the Bloat Be Gone Kickstart bundle. So if you want to check that out, you can head to my website, beyondbloated.com/ bundle. Other factors I would focus on if I was trying to improve my gut health would be probiotics and prebiotics. So that doesn't necessarily mean taking a supplement. If you are going to take a supplement, you want to make sure it's high quality and tailored to you. There are lots of probiotics out there that are actual garbage. They do nothing for you. In my Bloat Be Gone Kickstart bundle, I have a handbook, and in the handbook, I have product recommendations. So in there, I have listed a few gut health products like probiotics and a prebiotic powder that I believe are actually worth it. I've tried a billion of them, okay? I do not want you to waste your money. Most of them do nothing for you. So if you're interested in taking a supplement to get, a little boost while you start changing your diet and things like that, the handbook has product recommendations that I have found are worth it. My clients have found are worth it. So please do not search on Instagram for some miracle probiotic. It does not exist. But do check out the handbook if that is what you're interested in. If you don't want to take a supplement, you don't have to. You can get probiotics and prebiotics from food. So if you're planning to change your diet to focus on a more anti-inflammatory diet, diversify your microbiome with more different fruits and veggies, this is also going to provide you with prebiotics. And probiotics would come from fermented foods like sauerkraut and things like that. Last, but absolutely not least, are the lifestyle changes. So this involves things like managing your stress, prioritizing sleep, regularly exercising. These have all been researched and proven to improve gut health. You could eat the healthiest diet in the world. You're following the Mediterranean diet to a T, but you're chronically stressed. Your sleep schedule is wacky, and you don't move all day long. You're not going to have good gut health. You're not going to feel good. These things all go hand in hand. It's very easy for us to focus on the food. I know that from experience. When I was experiencing my gut issues at their worst, my focus was the food. What am I eating? What's triggering this? Why am I eating so healthy but still feeling like garbage? It's because everything matters. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket. It's called holistic health because we look at the whole body. All of it matters, not just what you're eating, but how you're managing stress, how well you're sleeping, how often you're exercising, what type of exercises you're doing. It all is so important. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting really focuses on these basic concepts. So if you want to check it out, it's beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide. It's completely free. It focuses on things like stress management, mindful eating, hydration habits, and it even provides a list of probiotic-rich foods that you can start to implement. So it's kind of very well-rounded. We've got a little bit of food, we've got a little bit of drink, and we've got a little bit of lifestyle. So that's completely free. You can download that now. I'll link it in the show notes for you. And just to quickly summarize what we've done today. So we have discussed how poor gut health can lead to autoimmune diseases, the mechanisms behind this connection, and how you can start to improve your gut health to manage these conditions or prevent them. So obviously, it's very important to take care of your gut. I think that is the main takeaway of today. All disease begins in the gut. Hippocrates says so 2,000 years ago. Check out those resources if you want to get started and you need a little help. And ask me any questions along the way. You can always reach out to me, send me a text, reach out to me on Instagram, send me an email. I'm here for you. Thank you for listening to the Beyond Bloated podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to share this podcast with your fellow gut goddesses. If you'd like to chat about today's episode, send me a DM on Instagram at beyond.bloated. Until next time, bye!